Hello, everyone. We are back for week 2 of college football best bets and picks. My name is Austin, joined by Logan. We're going to have a bunch of picks. We're going to talk about some of the biggest games on the slate. We're overall just going to have a good time celebrating some college football and hopefully sweating and winning some bets with you all. Last week, Logan and I both went 2-2. So not much to really do there and recap, but let's hopefully have a dominant week. But first and foremost, Logan, how are you doing on this fine Friday, technically, when this video is dropping?
Yeah, it's another excellent week of college football. Once again, excited to break down the slate. As Austin kind of mentioned, we're going to go over the big matchups, but at the end of we're going to also go through our best bets, what we're specifically putting our money on. So you definitely want to stay tuned to after the big time games, because everyone wants some action in the big games, right? But sometimes the smaller games are where a little bit more value is at.
Yeah, 100% agree. So we're going to talk about some of the biggest games on the slate. And if you want to look at all the timestamps down below and jump around, you can do that. And at the end of the video, we'll go through our top 3 best bets. Some of them might be included in the big games. And we'll have a prop of the day that we love. Last week, I lost my prop. Garrett Green and the West Virginia Mountaineers. I had to wait a 10-hour rain delay just from the Benjamin at the end of the game. But as always, we're going to have another a player prop of the week. And if both of ours hit, me and Logan, we will have a prop at the end of the video. We'll give away $50. All you do is subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and it's going to be at Underdog Fantasy, or we're going to put them in a parlay together. Underdog right now has a free square for, I believe, Dak Prescott on Sunday to get you 1 yard. So if you want to take that Dak Prescott free square, put to our other 2 props at the end of the video. You might have a good payout there. Use our code COS or the link at the top of the description, and they'll match your first deposit up to $1,000. Pretty cool offer, if I do say so myself. But we're talking about college football, Logan, and it's time to lock in. First game of the slate, Texas, the 3rd-ranked overall team on the road in Ann Arbor, facing the Michigan Wolverines. Right now, you see Texas laying a decent-sized number. This line opened at 4. It's now up to 7.5, and a low over-under at 42.5. Neither of us have a pick in this game, but where's your head at for this one? Because obviously, this is the biggest game of the weekend.
Yeah, I think the spread kind of shifting like that is indicative of kind of where I would lean. I think I would side with the Longhorns on this one. Yeah, it is honestly tempting to take, the home team with points. This Michigan team is definitely not what they were last year. And I think people underestimate how really good Texas is. I mean, Texas has an offense with Quinn Ewers that can go light up anybody. They have a defense that, I mean, last week they held Colorado State, they're a decent offense, just 74 yards passing. And the team couldn't even get 200 yards of total offense. Like, this Texas team is coming out trying to make a statement. There's no bigger statement to make than going into Michigan and winning that game. I think they do end up winning this game. The spread is, obviously a tricky number. Maybe you get at 7.5. Maybe it even drops. Who knows where the line closes in this one? I mean, look at the Texas's. They won 7 straight road games by almost 16 points per contest. This is a Texas team that knows how to travel. I think they have the offense to be able to do it. Obviously, I think this game is a little bit lower scoring. But I think I lean with the Longhorns and the established quarterback, because I don't really know what they're doing with Michigan.
I'm in the same boat for you. I kind of lean the under. I would have probably obviously would have loved to bet it at opening when I think he opened at like 48. Now I feel like all the value is kind of gone on it. I do think that's kind of indicative. They expect a lower scoring game, and I think that's the only way Michigan really has a shot here. If this is a lower scoring game, just don't think that offense is. I'm sure the offense will be better later on in the year, but just didn't see a lot from them last week against Fresno State. Kind of a struggle. They won 30-10. I think they scored 17 points in the 4th. Overall, I kind of am agreeing with you. I lean Texas. Obviously, I feel like a lot of value is gone since you didn't get the opening number at the -4. So I don't know if I'm honestly not betting on this one, but if I had to bet it, I think we both are in agreement. The under, probably lean in Texas. But let's move on to the second game on the slate. One that I actually have a prop in, as the Tennessee Volunteers, who came off a massive victory last week, a very high scoring game there, going into NC State to take on the Wolfpack. Another ranked matchup here. Something weird happened in this game. Logan and I aren't really sure, because the spread all day was -6.5, -7. Now it's up to -9.5. I do feel like there's some sort of injury on the radar here that maybe they aren't announcing yet. 60.5 total. Logan, is there anything here that you looked at? I know I'll talk about my prop in a second, but side or total? I know that injury, we don't know. We're just guessing. Anything you're looking at here?
If I were to take a total in this one, I'd probably lean the over. Now, again, the spread analysis is kind of tricky because, do I want to lay the points with Tennessee? Not really. I mean, they're playing in the neutral site game in Charlotte. So again, neutral site, who knows, really no real home field advantage or anything in this one. I just like both of these offenses to be able to go up and down the field. I don't think this game is dictated at all by the defenses. You have two very established quarterbacks on each side. Obviously, we know, Heupel with Tennessee, he's an established offensive guy, not a whole lot of defense historically. I mean, the Volunteers last week rushed for 304 yards, 5 touchdowns. I mean, they did it any way they wanted. Yes, they played an inferior opponent, but they still looked like they came out of the gate strong. I think they kind of get that against this NC State defense that I watched Western Carolina move the ball up and down the field on them. And I was like, uh-oh. I mean, imagine what Tennessee can do with them. So I really do see points coming on both sides because I see NC State with Grayson McCall. He's obviously an established, quarterback. I see him being able to get some points. I think my lean would be the over in this one. It's high. We normally don't see NC State type games that high, but I just think there's going to be a whole lot of offense from both these sides.
Yeah, and kind of in the same breath, I'm going to give you my favorite player prop of the weekend, and that is the quarterback for NC State, Grayson McCall. I like his over in yards. Now, put a little bit of asterisk here. I put up his Underdog fantasy line where obviously Logan and I are both playing our 2 props and putting them together. And like I said, if we go 2-0, we'll give away $50. Just subscribe and like. McCall, as I talked about, some sort of injury popped up because his line disappeared on Underdog Fantasy. Now, a couple other books, I took a screenshot of it when it was 238.5. It could be lower there. I'm not really too sure. I'll bet it, whatever they give it to me. But kind of like Logan said, I expect Tennessee to have success running the football and scoring. And I think you're going to see Grayson McCall have to throw it on the other side just to keep up with that offense. So I really like his over in pass yards. I'll be on it. Hopefully I can get another line at 238.5. I know the books are around 240, so nothing too bad there. That's my favorite prop of the weekend. You have to stay tuned for Logan's prop at the end of the video. But let's move on to our third game, Logan. We have Georgia Tech taking on Syracuse. Obviously, Georgia Tech, I believe, got the weekend off yet last week. Coming off that big win against Florida State. Now it doesn't look like it's as meaningful. I don't know. I mean, Florida State, I don't want to beat a dead horse. That's rude. But they're taking on Syracuse, a team that we both like. Georgia Tech slight favorites, -2.5. Over under 61.5. Anything you're liking here for the Yellow Jackets?
Yeah, this pick just missed my card. Like it was very close to being an official play. I like Syracuse. I like them to get the outright win. I would lean their money line. I just think this is not the best spot for Georgia Tech. Yeah, you had an emotional win in week 0 against Florida State, a Florida State team that doesn't look like they can stop a nosebleed defensively. So I question that. Playing at Syracuse, again, ACC as a conference is looking pretty weak these days. Are you really trying to lay the favorite price with Georgia Tech? I don't think that's a great idea. Yes, Georgia Tech has great offense. Jamal Haynes King. They have all the offensive pieces. But what I always want to say about the Syracuse team is they play better defense than you realize. I mean, maybe last week not so much, but Kyle McCord and LaQuint Allen, that is a good 1-2 punch with their quarterback / running back. LaQuint Allen's always got a rushing prop. I took his last week, barely cashed for us, but it did cash nonetheless. I mean, this guy is a 100-yard per game type rusher. That's what he does. The Syracuse team, I think, is going to be able to go blow for blow with Georgia Tech playing in the Carrier Dome. I like Syracuse's defense to be able to make a few key stops against Georgia Tech. Enough films out on them. Hopefully they're able to do that. I would lean Syracuse, in this a home underdog kind of role.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this game. Obviously, I really like Kyle McCord. I think Syracuse got a steal for him to be their QB. He threw for over 350 yards. The only thing that gives me pause backing Syracuse is they couldn't stop the run last week. Ohio's running back, 16 carries for 203 yards. When we saw when they took down Florida State, they were controlling the line of scrimmage, and that's what Georgia Tech wants to do. They're not a team that's going to want to throw the ball heavily. So I kind of lean Georgia Tech. I think they're favored on the road, but also I like Syracuse. There's a high total here, so I think there's plenty of points to go around. This is a tough game to predict. I honestly kind of like the Yellow Jackets a little bit more, but they could be, they could be upset here. They wouldn't really shock me if they lost this game. I kind of go back and forth. I understand all your points for Syracuse. I think there's points to be made for Georgia Tech too. Let us know who you guys like in the comments because I kind of lean the Yellow Jackets. And then the final game of the slate before we dive into our official picks. Kansas taking on Illinois. An over-under high one here, 57.5. Kansas a little bit favored, 4.5, 5.5 point favorites going into Illinois. This is a high total for any Illinois games we've seen over the last 2 years. One of the highest totals I've seen. So you think Jalen Daniels and company can go on the road and get the W here?
I do. I would lean Kansas in this one. I would back Jalen Daniels and the Jayhawks. I think this total is set kind of high for a reason. I think Kansas is going to have no trouble putting up points themselves. Now, Kansas doesn't play a whole lot of defense. That's kind of why we see the total set high. I mean, so it's not what they do. I mean, they want to go up and down the field. They want to beat you like that. Explosive passing game like that. I really do like the Jayhawks in this role. I think their offense is just simply better. Altmaier, that's my thing. It's like comparing quarterback to quarterback. Jalen Daniels is a lot better, a lot more talented. Yes, Illinois has shown some signs of life offensively. I mean, Altmaier, 213 yards, 4 touchdowns last week. Good stuff from him. So if you want to back the Illini, I get it. But my lean towards the side in this one will be with Kansas. I just think we're going to see them get enough offensive production even on the road in this one.
I don't know. Maybe I'm a hater. I've just never been a big Jalen Daniels guy. I feel like sometimes he pads his stats against bad teams. I mean, he has dealt with a lot of injuries, though, over the past few seasons. I feel like this is like a sexy player in Jalen Daniels. Like, you're getting flashy. And then a guy like Altmaier, it's more, hey, I'm not going to throw it for 500 yards, but I'm going to be efficient and getting down the field. That's where I don't know where this game ends up. Like, if this is a high-scoring game, that obviously benefits Kansas. If it's a lower-scoring game, I feel like that benefits the Illini. I lean towards the Illini plus the points, but I don't have enough evidence for me to really want to back them. I think I backed them a couple times last year, and what I watched on offense was just made me want to shoot something. So I probably am avoiding that game, but I'm going to be watching. It's one of the ones we wanted to highlight on the card. Another 7 p.m. start out there. So that's our 4th game that we're going to look at. Not the best slate of college football action, but some definitely good games out there. But Logan, let's dive into our picks. Since you have a prop later, I will let you lead things off with your first spread pick of the weekend. What's your first pick going to be this weekend?
Yeah, it could be controversial. I don't know, because the Colorado Buffaloes are a public darling. I know that. I'm taking Nebraska -6.5. I'm laying the full touchdown spread with Nebraska. I really do like this one. This one made my card because I looked at Colorado defensively. I don't think they fixed a whole lot. I mean, this defense stinks, man. North Dakota State went all up and down that field on them. Yes, and we look at last year too. The human aspect of sports is kind of crazy. If I'm in that Nebraska locker room, I can only imagine what they were thinking last year when Colorado escaped with that one. Nebraska gave the ball away 4 times in that one. Just can't have it. I mean, turnovers kill you, especially in college football. Like that's just the nail in the coffin. This is a new look Nebraska team with Dylan Raiola at quarterback. He was terrific against UTEP last week. 19 of 27, 238, 2 touchdowns. The running game was good. They play. I think Nebraska is going to play a very physical style of football that Colorado just doesn't want to play. Like I said, Colorado eked out the win last year. If you don't think Nebraska has payback on their mind against this flashy, showboating type Colorado team, I think we're missing the human aspect of it. If we look at North Dakota State, like I said, they moved the ball all up and down the field on Colorado. Yes, Shedeur Sanders is good. Yes, Travis Hunter is good. The flashy players are on Colorado's side, but I don't care what you want to say. Nebraska will be ready for this game. They will be so amped with a little bit of payback on their mind. All I'm laying is a touchdown at Nebraska. Give me the Cornhuskers as my favorite, or as my first pick of the day.
Logan, I love the pick. I feel like a lot of people will be on Nebraska, but I can't blame him at all. My favorite pick of the week, or my first one, going to a team that if you backed him last week, we're not very happy because they didn't do a whole lot. Back in the Oregon Ducks, -18.5, currently -120 on Fanatics. Now, like I said, last week wasn't the best week for Oregon as they barely beat Idaho. I mean, what were they, like 40, 50-point favorites? They beat them by 10, 24-14. If you didn't look at the scoreboard, you just looked at yards, you'd be like, 500 yards. Dylan Gabriel threw for whatever amount, and Idaho only had 217. How the heck did we only win by 10? Well, they had a missed field goal. They had also a fumble in the red zone, and really, it just didn't look great overall. And in my opinion, I feel like they were saving some things in that playbook. I don't think they're saving them here. I think they've seen all the criticism and how they looked. Let's just be honest, they didn't look good. I think they're going to empty the playbook. Not empty it, but use some more plays in there and absolutely obliterate the Boise State Broncos. Now, sure, they're led by their star running back who had 267 rushing yards and 6 TDs last week. Everyone loves Ashton Jeanty. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Either way, he's not going to have that much success against Oregon. They're going to force them to throw the ball. I think that's where we see Oregon absolutely blow the brakes off of Boise State. Last week, Boise gave up 45 points to Georgia Southern. You can't be doing that and expecting me to think that you got a chance at competing with Oregon here. I like the Ducks in a big bounce back at home, kind of establish themselves again once as a team that people think could win the national championship this year. A lot of people were disappointed in that first week showed a game against Idaho. I think it's an easy bet. Give me the Ducks minus the 18.5 as my first pick of the weekend. But Logan, you got an over. Points. Where are you going?
Yeah, I do have an over. We love backing overs in college football because you get to root for points. You don't even have to pick a side. I like Arkansas and Oklahoma State over 62.5. I think there's going to be points on both sides of the ball. We'll talk about Arkansas. I mean, they scored 70. Yes, it was against Pine Bluff, not a big time opponent at all, but they still had a good offensive tune-up game. They're facing a Cowboys defense that still's got that Big 12 kind of stench on it. What do I mean by that? Well, Big 12 not notorious for defenses. They want to go up and down the field and score. I'm really interested in playing defense. I think we look at Taylon Green for Arkansas. He's a difference maker. He had 4 touchdowns, 2 through the air, 2 on the ground. Good luck, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's defense really struggled against dual threat type quarterbacks last year. Kansas State, Will Howard and Max Duggan were guys that absolutely lit them up. I think Arkansas definitely has success on their side of the ball. And then we look at this Oklahoma State offense. Can they get a lot of points in offensive production against this Arkansas defense? I definitely think so. Ollie Gordon. I mean, do I have to even say the name? Ollie Gordon is legit. I mean, 126 yards, 3 touchdowns against South Dakota State last week. This guy's one of the best running backs in the country. I mean, if not the best, he's definitely top 3, top 5. I think him paired with Alan Bowman, this is an offense that definitely wants to get out and pass the ball. They want to air raid a little bit. Bowman last week 267, 3 touchdowns. This is a final score that I think each team gets well into the 30s. I'll give me the over. I love backing a little over every now and then in college football. I think this game just screams shootout between Arkansas and Oklahoma State. I like that as my second pick of the day. But Austin, you got your second pick. Where are you going for it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to bet an over, I got to be the contrarian. I'm taking an under. However, this is not a big contrarian play as I'm going to Iowa. And I'm taking Iowa State versus Iowa. The under's 36.5 points. Now, it's about minus 115 on FanDuel. Not bad. You can take it at 35.5 if that's all you got. Now, last week, if you backed the Iowa under, which has been pretty much a wagon the last few seasons, you got cooked. You were counting your money like, oh, yeah, 6 points in the first half. I'm going to turn this game off and go do something else. Well, then you got wrecked as there were 34 points scored in the second half, including 21 by Iowa in the fourth. They just padded the stats against the trash team they were playing. However, this is not an FCS team. This is Iowa State, another team that they have kind of fought neck and neck the last few seasons. In fact, the last 2 games, 10-7 final score and 13-20. Obviously, both going under this line. I still have no faith in Iowa's offense. Sure, they put up 40 last week. Congrats. But that was against a no-name. Now you get an Iowa State defense, which I think is very solid. Iowa State, they didn't put up a ton of points last week, 21-3 against North Dakota. But I think their defense can go out there and do its thing. Last week, if you were to look at Iowa State and their defense, they really didn't do a whole lot in getting the other team off the field. North Dakota was converting 3rd downs left and right. So I think we're going to see a long, methodical drives from Iowa, not necessarily going for 50-yard touchdowns, but like converting on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, chewing clock. Then it'll come down to the red zone. Can we get those stops? And I'm willing to think that we will get those stops, and we just see a game of field goals back and forth between these 2 teams. So I know it's ugly. 36.5 might be the lowest total on the board this weekend, but you don't set it that low for a reason. I think this Iowa State-Iowa game is somewhere under 36.5. It's going to be a fun sweat. It's my second pick of the weekend. But Logan, throwing it to you. You're backing a home team to cover a large number. Heard word on the street, this team bets the spread too. Who you rocking with?
I mean, we don't have evidence that this team bets the spread, but damn it, if you told me Franklin bets his own spreads, I'd believe it. I'm taking Penn State minus 34.5. Yeah, it's a massive spread, but it's high. It's a spread like this for a reason. Obviously 34.5, sort of a key number. I like it at 34, 35, 35.5, pushing it a little bit because could you get hooked? Sure, you could. I think Penn State absolutely throttles Bowling Green. They're facing Bowling Green. Obviously, Bowling Green has a few offensive weapons, Terrion Stewart, Connor Bazelak. But this Penn State defense, did you just watch what they did against West Virginia? They made Garrett Green, who I still consider a decent quarterback, they made him look bad. They flat out just dominated the line of scrimmage. Their secondary is still legit. Their linebackers are some of the best in the country. Yeah, Penn State's defense should be able to have their way against Bowling Green. And then out of the backfield with with Singleton and Katron Allen, this Penn State offense is definitely looking a lot better this year than they have in years past. I think they go up and down the field with ease. I think they put their foot on the gas, because you know why? This Penn State team, they're good at covering the number. It's what Austin and I always joke about. It's like you'd swear that they're betting it for the boosters, but not really. I still think they're just a much better team. Again, this Penn State team they definitely want to put the rest of the college football world on notice. You put them on notice by beating a team like Bowling Green by 40. You don't put them on notice by playing around, beating a Bowling Green team by like 21 or even 28. Nah, you gotta blow out these smaller type opponents, especially playing at Penn State. Give me the Nittany Lions minus 34.5. It's a big time spread, but it's a big time spread for a reason. Austin, finish it out. What's your third pick?
Yeah, I'm actually fading my alma mater, and it hurts to do. I'm not fading them to lose a game or not cover the spread, but I'm obviously a UCF alum. I'm taking their team total under 39.5 points, minus 115 on Bet365. I hope the UCF Knights win 38-0 as a sweat-free victory. However, what I saw last week from my Knights was not something I loved. And while they did absolutely throttle New Hampshire, you have to beat those teams. Today they have Sam Houston coming into town. Now, Sam Houston, Logan knows, they rocked Rice last week. We were on Rice, and they just absolutely spanked them. But I think they can keep this game close within 2-3 touchdowns. Now, in UCF's opening game, like I said, 57 points. How'd they do it? Not with KJ Jefferson. The bro was 7 for 14. He stunk. The only reason they put up a ton of points was because, they had the big advantage on the offensive line. They ran for 454 yards and 5 touchdowns, averaging 8.4 yards per carry. Sure, if you're running for 450 yards, they're going to hit 40-plus points, score 50-plus points. Now they face a Rice team, who last week against Sam Houston, like I said, won 34-14. They limited their running back in that game to 12 carries for 52 yards, about 4 yards per carry. That's the same guy that a year earlier averaged over 6.5 yards per carry. So I look at that and I'm like, well, they're able to limit him. I feel like they'll be able to at least do something against RJ Harvey in this Knights rushing attack. If you can, and I'm going to say this all season long, if you can limit UCF running the football, force them into second and long, get them into third down and long where they have to throw it, they will struggle. I am not a fan of KJ Jefferson. I don't think he's all that good. I think he's the same player as DJU, except for he hasn't been exposed and been on primetime TV 2 straight games, and UCF's not as big of a program as Florida State is and didn't come into the year as the 10th ranked team. But I feel like they're literally carbon copies. They can't hit wide open guys. I think Sam Houston will force KJ Jefferson to hit those open guys, and I don't think they're going to put up a ton of points. Also, additionally, maybe this game they are winning and they're getting out, their defense is looking really good. UCF has a big road game next week against TCU. That'll be kind of, you would say, their first true test, although Sam Houston's not a bad ball club at all. I just don't see them emptying the playbook here. I think they rather save some plays for next week against TCU, and then they have Colorado at home, a game that I will be at in attendance for that game, and hopefully we're undefeated by then. So, sorry, UCF. I'm fading them. Team total under 39.5. I think they still win. They might even cover the 21's point spread they're getting. I just don't think they put up a ton of points on Saturday against Sam Houston. I'm just not a KJ Jefferson guy, and if he makes me eat it, I wouldn't be mad, but I really think this is a really good pick. So give me the UCF Knights team total under 39.5. Depending on your book, it might be a home team because they're at home. You can take that, but same thing. UCF, I'm sorry. But Logan, I need a prop from you, and then I'll let you recap your full card. Your favorite prop of the weekend is?
My favorite prop of the weekend is a wide receiver. Maybe you've heard of him, Luther Burden III. I like his over 75.5 receiving yards. Look, Luther Burden last week, Austin and I were talking about this. If you took his line, maybe you're just like, oh yeah, this guy's big time. He should show up. He only had 4 catches for 49 yards, so he obviously didn't need to show up. What I liked about that game, though, even though he didn't have a crazy good game, is that this Missouri offense still threw the ball like over 40 times. They're going to try to get these receivers involved against Buffalo at home. This is just a spot that Luther Burden, it puts the world back on notice that, hey, I am one of the elite wide receivers in college football. They will absolutely force feed him. I mean, he'll get several targets in that one. I think this Missouri offense obviously wants to throw the ball, not really interested in running. Buffalo's secondary, can they stop Luther Burden? Probably not, and that's why I just think this line. Once again, if you took it last week, you got burned. What are the odds you're going back to it? All right, a lot of people are scared of that, and then watch Luther Burden go for over 100. I love Luther Burden, the third, to get over his prop, and hopefully that makes it two for two. Austin and I's props combined this week. But I will recap my card real quick. Let's talk about the spreads and totals that I'm rolling with. I'm rolling with Nebraska -6.5, laying the touchdown at home against Colorado, against those Buffaloes. Hopefully they get it done. I'm on the Arkansas and Oklahoma State over 62.5, and then I'm also on Penn State -34.5. Hopefully they take care of business against Bowling Green. That concludes my card. Hopefully we have another winning weekend. Austin, I'm throwing it back to you for your picks, though.
Yeah, my full card here, it's on the screen. Oregon -18.5. Iowa State, Iowa under 36.5. UCF team total under 39.5. And Grayson McCall of the NC State Wolfpack over in pass yards. I'll put 238.5. If it changes, I'll tweet out our underdog slip on Twitter at Calling Our Shot. What official line we go with? Hopefully it's in the 238s, the 241s or so. They should be about the same. So if we, like I said, if we do go 2-0 on our props, Luther Burden and Grayson McCall come through, give a $50 to subscribe and like. And if you want to sign up for Underdog and get a match on your first deposit, make sure you use code COS. They'll match their first deposit up to $1,000, and you will get that Dak Prescott free square for Sunday's NFL slate, which on Saturday we'll have a ton of NFL content coming your guys' way, including a full breakdown of all the NFL games of Logan and I chatting about those games. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Longer video. Hopefully you had a great time, and hopefully we have a 8-0 weekend. We'll see you guys back in the next one. Peace.